Hello fellow modelers, Bruce here. The subject of today's video is perfect for a first scratch building project for somebody who wants to give that a try. It's going to be this little equipment shed that you see right here, and you'll see it come together, so follow along. Bonnie and I live in a semi-rural town that still has a lot of family farms in it, and as we drive around this part of Michigan we see a lot of family farms. And one of the things that's very, very common is open front equipment sheds or hay storage sheds. They're used for everything, but it's basically a three-sided structure made of wood, usually with 3-tab shingles on the roof, but I might use something different on mine. Interestingly, I really haven't come across kit manufacturers that offer this, and it's just such a simple thing to scratch build that it would be almost a shame to buy it as a kit anyway. So I did what I normally do when I'm going to scratch build, and that is start by making some drawings. Equipment is very simple. I need a square. I still have a number of drafting triangles that were mine or my father's, so I use them often. I really am glad that along the way in 8th grade and in 9th grade I took wood shop, and it always had at least one marking period of mechanical drawing on it. Good skills to have, especially since I went into this hobby. So here's what I've done. I have drawn a shed that is asymmetrical on its cross view. Very common again that you have a peaked roof where it's a bit truncated on one side. So this is a 16-foot deep shed, and about 10 feet of it goes up to this peak over here, and this is cut off at about this 6 foot. So the front is front side here is a little bit shorter than the rear side. And I'm going to make mine 25 feet long. That would be enough to get generally 3 pieces of equipment in, or half of it could be devoted to storing hay and you can still get your tractor in it. No windows or doors are necessary since the whole front is open. What I will do is along this front edge put a very heavy beam, like a 6x6 or whatever, to support the roof beam that'll go across from one end wall to the other end wall, and probably put one center post in it. So that's kind of the plans, and since this is not a contest model, I decided I would use scribe siding to speed the process up a bit. So let me just swivel my camera over this way. You know, I think I've talked to you about my supply of strip wood, but I also have a decent supply of wood sheeting of different types. This is a good example, and it's scribed into, trying to get it so you can see the about 8 or 9 inch boards. So that would just be the kind of thing that would be great for this siding. But as you look at my selection, I have clapboard siding, I have board and batten siding, different thicknesses. This is a passenger car roof piece of wood. I got loads of supplies depending on what I want to scratch build. It's good to have that on hand. So I'm going to use this planking here. So I'll cut out the 3 sides, the rear wall and each side, probably stain it, stain some strip wood, and then I'll come back and show you where we are. The since the whole front is going to be open, what I plan on doing on the smooth side is to give it some basic framing, probably with 2x4s. And so when you look inside, you'll see that framing, because the inside will not be clad with anything. So it shouldn't take me too long. You just glue the 2x4s framing right onto the back of the walls. So that's kind of the overall plan, and I'll see you when I've made some progress. Talk to you then. Okay, a little update. The three walls and the majority of the framing are now stained with my alcohol and India ink mix. Again, it's the 2 teaspoons of Black India ink to 1 pint of 91% isopropyl alcohol. If I need more strip wood stained, it only takes 15 minutes to dump it in, get it stained, pulled out, and probably a half hour to dry, and you're ready to go. So I'm not too worried if I need a little more. And I'm thinking of putting a wood floor in. And looking in my scrap box, I found this bit of scribe siding that came in a box of mixed stuff from Walt Gillespie at Rusty Stump Scale Models when he was still in operation. So yeah, I think I'll put this down on the floor. By the time it's weathered and some stuff is on top of it, you won't necessarily get the effect of all those bars and so forth in there that I don't know what Walt was trying to get at with those, unless those were places that he expected you to put strip wood on top. I don't know. But at any rate, I think I'll use that for the floor and get that stained and move on. Talk to you again soon. Okay, I'm busy just putting some make-believe studs on the back of these walls. Working on the rear wall right now, and on the rear wall I have the boards running vertically, and so I have 3 main beams going horizontally, and now I am adding some support studs in between all of those, just for looks more than anything. Remember, this is a farmer who made his own shed here, and he can take some license on his construction techniques depending on what wood he has available and how much of it. So just lining the upper studs up with the lower ones, which I did measure and put some hash marks in. And here I am just putting some vertical supports on about above every other lower stud. And just playing by eye until I get them looking vertical and so forth. That looks pretty good. So again, I have 3 there now. I've got a couple more to put in. The how you measure those to get them to fit very nicely is with a pair of dividers. You've seen me use dividers before. Not essential. I mean, you can do it by measuring and guessing, but if you have the exact measurement, it's easy for you to get your chopper to that proper level, distance there for you. So yeah, it's a set of dividers. Again, not essential, but handy if you're going to do a lot of scratch building. So let me just put one more in. As always, my glue is on a piece of shiny paper, and I'm just picking up little tiny dabs on these little studs, and a little dab on each end. As I have cut these so that they're pretty good fit in between here. And I use a clean toothpick to not only arrange the stud, but pick up any glue that has oozed out. Press down a little bit, give it a visual from a distance. No need to be as fussy as I'm being here, but making more work for myself by trying to be fussy here. Your eye does a pretty good job of lining things up. And so I got 1, 2, or 3 more here, and that's about it. 3, I'll make it. And then I just have one more sidewall to do, and then I can start some assembling. Alright, talk to you again soon. Alrighty. This little structure is coming together nicely, and I thought I would do a quick update. First of all, on the flooring, I decided not to go with that material that I had gotten from Walt Gillespie. Instead, because this is going to be so visible, I went with higher quality decking. This is from Micromark, and it's what they call their ship decking. So it's a 1/16 of an inch thick, and you can see that both sides show the boards. They really are just individual boards glued together, not scribed siding. So it gives you a much more realistic look, and it'll look pretty good as the floor of this equipment shed. I will cut it off flush with the front, and I'll show you the inside now. On the rear wall, I did decide to go with 2x4s, one above the other all the way across. I thought it looked better. One wall there I put what's supposed to be a metal sign for Sinclair motor oil. This side is also framed out. And I have one of my roofing supports glued in place here on the front just to keep it stable. But I have more of the wood stained, and I will now, put more of these roof beams in. That'll be good gluing surfaces for the roof. I will put, I believe, one vertical support in the middle. I think a 25-foot span would require that, so I will do that. And so on the roofing, I will either do cedar shakes or I will do tar paper, rolled roofing kind of thing. We will see. All right, talk to you again soon. Okay, time for yet another update. At this point, all the roof supports are in, including the 2 at the very peak and the one across the front. And you can see I have put in the vertical support halfway in the middle right there. And time to put the subroofing on, and normally I use cardboard on most of mine, some kind of cardstock. But here in my scrap box I found this piece of 1/32 inch thick basswood, which is darn close to the right width here, and certainly enough to do the front and the back of the roof. So I'll just shorten it a little bit, cut off the 2 strips, and then put on my roofing. And I've decided to go with simulating green rolled roofing. You've heard me talk about this in some of my other videos. My go-to for rolled roofing or tar paper is what's known as craft paper, K-R-A-F-T. You're familiar with it usually in brown that people use to wrap packages or crumble up as packing. But if you go to any school district in the art department or elementary grades, you'll find rolls of craft paper in multiple colors. And so, having worked in the school district, I had the art department just cut off a couple feet of both green and black for me, and it'll probably last a lifetime. So I will work with that, rough it up a little bit with some emery cloth, and then cut it into 3-foot wide strips and glue it onto the roof and weather it, and it looks pretty darn good. So those are kind of the next steps. I do think if you look at the front edge here, where you have the edge of the side wall plus my 8x8 there, it would look better if I could cover that up. So looks like a 1x12 will cover it up nicely. I will stain it the same color as the walls and glue those over those two pieces there. I think it'll tidy it up quite a bit. So those are kind of next steps. And here's that 1x12 right here. And you can see that when I glue it in place, it will pretty much cover up everything I want it to cover up. So, alrighty, that's my next steps. Talk to you soon. Another quick update. What you're looking at here is me putting some weight on the model as I glue the roof panels on. This front roof panel was glued on last night and it's well dry. Now I just put the second roof panel on, held it in place probably for about 2 minutes. Then I wanted to take it, turn it upside down, lay it on that roof panel and put some weight on it. And what really comes in handy then is some little sandbags of weight, because they conform to odd shapes and they stay in place. So instead of me having to hold my hand on it for the next 10 minutes, my sandbag does that job. So very handy little things to have, especially when you're doing roof work. All right, talk to you soon. Okay, so here we are with our equipment shed done. Just a little bit of weathering on the roof with a couple of Bragdon powders. They have one that they call Green Grunge that I went over the roof with first. And then just lightly with a little bit of weathered brown using, again, one of the, I guess these are eyelid applicators for cosmetics. So just enough to make it look a little weathered. This, as I said in the beginning, is just a terrific first subject for a scratch build by a beginning scratch builder. No windows or doors to cut in, simple peaked roof, 3 sides instead of 4. What else could you ask for? And something that is fairly ubiquitous. You know, open front sheds for storing hay or equipment. I'll probably put some hay on one side and equipment on the other, but we'll see. And again, I think it's terrific. You could make it out of styrene instead of wood, if that's what you prefer. Instead of, if you don't have any scribe siding, you spray paint the walls your favorite color, you know, barn red or brown or gray, even green, you name it. You could cover the walls with tar paper and some battens. It's really up to you. You know, you go around farm country, you can find them in all kinds of configurations. So, you know, I always am trying to get more scratch builders into this world, because it is a fun part of the hobby. So if you haven't tried scratch building, this would be a good one. Cut the walls out of cardstock first, just to see what it looks like. And you've seen me talk about doing cardboard mock-ups. So yeah, I start with a sketch just to see what it's going to look like. If everything looks good in the sketch, then you can take those measurements right off of the drawing and put them onto either, you know, whatever you're using for your walls, and go for it. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. It takes only a few seconds, costs you nothing. And if If you have not already done so, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more models coming, more scratch builds coming, more scenery coming, track laying, you name it. So, yeah, that's it for now. So, as always, enjoy your modeling.